everyone, and welcome to the annual Hall of Honor enshrinement. This is the 34th year, and at this time, I would like to introduce Karen Petros McDermott and Michael McDermott, who will read a poem that is special for this celebration, The Bridge Builder.
The Bridge Builder. An old man going a lone highway came at the evening cold and gray, to a chasm vast and deep and wide, through which was flowing a swollen tide. The old man crossed in the twilight dim. The rapids held no fears for him, but he turned when safe on the other side, and built a bridge to span the tide. "Old man," cried the fellow pilgrim near, "you're wasting your time in building here. Your journey will end with the closing day. You never again will pass this way. You have crossed the chasm deep and wide. Why build you this bridge at eventide?" The builder lifted his old gray head. "Good friend, in the path I have come," he said, "there follows after me today a youth whose feet must pass this way. This stream, which has been as not as me, to the fair youth may a pitfall be. He too must cross in the twilight dim. Good friend, I am building this bridge for him."
We welcome you to the 34th Annual Hall of Honor program. We're honored to have community and family members join us for an incredible evening which honors the sons and daughters of the Fairborn City School District and the Fairborn community. There are people here from coast to coast and many points in between. They are friends and acquaintances. We come together tonight to honor those people who have brought great credit to themselves, their chosen profession, to the Fairborn City Schools and the Fairborn community. As the colors are brought forward by the Fairborn High School Air Force JROTC, please stand. Following the presentation, we will do the Pledge of Allegiance together. So.
Forward, march. Colors. Halt. Present. Colors.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Carry. Colors. Colors. Colors turn. March.
Please remain standing as Pastor Nathaniel Dunleavy from City Church gives the invocation.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. My name is Nathaniel Dunleavy. I'm the associate pastor and worship leader at City Church. Our pastor is Pastor Tim Walden. He was a pastor in this town for many years, and unfortunately, he would be here tonight. He is experiencing some very serious health issues, so I was not the school's first choice to pray tonight. He would be, and he sends his greetings, and I would just ask you if you would keep him in your prayers. It's very serious. I'm also a 97 alumni of the school, and it feels great to be home, and if it's okay, I'd like to say a word of prayer as we get started tonight. Can we bow our heads? Father, thank you for this evening. Thank you for the opportunity to come together as a group, as a school, as a community, together to honor and to recognize the accomplishments and the contributions that those that we're going to be recognized tonight have made. And Lord, I just ask that while we're encouraged, that we would be challenged to consider what areas in our life that we can make an impact, to be an influence in our own spheres of influence, our community, maybe even our home. Just pray that you would bless this night in Christ's name. Amen. Thank you.
I will now introduce Fairborn Board of Education Vice President Pat McCourt. Mr. McCourt serves on the Fairborn City Schools Athletic Council, Hall of Honor Selection Committee, and Hall of Honor Induction Committee. Mr. McCourt?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. On behalf of the Fairborn Board of Education, I welcome you to the 34th Annual Hall of Honor enshrinement. It is a great honor and pride that we welcome each and every one of you to Fairborn for this event to honor your achievements. Each of you serves as a reminder of the outstanding education provided by the Fairborn City Schools, and that each graduate can find his or her passion and pursue a dream by setting high standards and high goals. Thank you for your leadership and your passion, and furthermore, thank you for coming home. This will always be your home, and thank you again.
Many of the Fairborn City Schools students are participating in these enshrinement activities. Students participated in Friday morning inductee sessions, vocalists in the chamber chorale, instrumentalists in the orchestra, and jazz ensembles and cadets of the color guard. Student ambassadors and ushers are also participating this evening. These students honor the current student body at Fairborn High School and the history and pride of Fairborn City Schools. The connection between the past and the present helps to meet a goal of the Hall of Honor. The current students may draw inspiration from and establish future goals based on the accomplishments of those who have gone before. On stage tonight, and I'm not sure that she's here, is Student Congress President Sophia Bridges. Actually, she's in the chamber chorale. We have lots of students who do multiple things. Sophia, who will deliver the student message for this evening.
On behalf of Fairborn High School Student Congress, we welcome you to the annual Hall of Honor induction ceremony. Our students are proud of the history of the graduates and former employees of Fairborn City Schools, and we are honored to have you here tonight. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Sophia. Superintendent Jean Lawley has served in the Fairborn City School District as principal of Fairborn High School and then as director of business affairs. He has served as superintendent for 6 years. Mr. Lawley has been instrumental in the passing of a bond issue, which is funding the construction of a new high school on Commerce Center Boulevard, and which will help to fund a new middle school. His passion for Fairborn City Schools and the community is unwavering. With the opening of new schools, Mr. Lawley has set the stage for an incredible future with state-of-the-art educational facilities and technology. I introduce Superintendent Jean Lawley.
Thank you, Mrs. Gayhart. Good evening. It is with great pride that I welcome the Hall of Honor inductees, their families and friends, and members of the school and the Fairborn community. The Fairborn City School District has a strong and proud history. If you walk the halls today, you will find our current students exploring educational experiences which will support their future dreams and aspirations. When I look at the Hall of Honor plaques in our high school halls, I see outstanding individuals who have reached the pinnacle in their chosen careers. In every facet of life, individuals who have worked extremely hard to follow their passions and to make a difference in the world. You are an inspiration to future Fairborn graduates. The Fairborn City School District continues to grow, prosper, and prepare our youth for a future that is incredibly complex. We have built 2 new elementary schools with state-of-the-art educational environments and technology to prepare our students for the future, and our new high school will open in the fall of 2024. Our commitment is to provide the best educational possible for our students so that they are able to pursue their dreams and career goals. Tonight, we thank you for attending and we honor you. Welcome home to Fairborn and congratulations.
The words to the Fairborn alma mater were penned by Henry Smith, the class of 1912, who served the Fairborn City Schools for 40 years and who is enshrined in the Hall of Honor. He set the words to the familiar and well-known music of the Cornell University alma mater. This is an important tradition in the enshrinement ceremony. Ladies and gentlemen, will you please stand and recall your special high school memories as the chamber chorale, under the direction of Mrs. Karen Goretta, sing the Fairborn High School alma mater.
All to thee belong.
may be seated. At this time, we would like to recognize attendees who are previous enshrinees into the Hall of Honor. From the class of 2022, Warren K. Brown, who graduated in 1960. Mr. Brown. From the class of 2019, the class of 1967, Michael G. Hazley. From the class of 2018 and a graduate of the class of 1998, James L. Rout, Jr. The class of 2016 and an extraordinary nurse, Norma Watson Nicola. The class of 2015 and a graduate of the class of 1965 and a Greene County Commissioner, Thomas R. Kugler. The class of 2012 and a Fairborn City Schools teacher and senior class advisor, Barbara W. Parsons. She's in the back. The class of 2011 and a Lutheran church pastor, Reverend Craig L. Foreman. The class of 2007 and better known as Officer Bill William N. Arnold. Thank you all for attending this evening. We will now begin with the 7 inductees who will be enshrined this evening. Roger Tug Thornberry graduated from Fairborn High School in 1960 and received a Bachelor of Science in Economics from Murray State University. In 1964, he joined the United States Army and served as a platoon leader for the 7th Infantry Division in the demilitarized zone between North and South Korea, and then as a military advisor to South Vietnamese Army units. He earned a Master of Science in Public Administration from Shippensburg University in 1973, and also graduated from the Command and General Staff College and the United States Department of Defense Institute for Security Assistance Management. From 1984 to 1987, he served as Adjutant General of the United States Army Central Command, serving concurrently as the commander of the 3rd Combat Service Support Command and the chief of the War Plans Division for the United States Army Forces Command. He also served as the United States Joint Chiefs of Staff Executive Agent and graduated from the Army War College before retiring as a much-decorated soldier and full colonel. He joined AstraZeneca Pharmaceuticals as a government sales representative, where he worked to help VA and military hospitals' pharmaceutical needs. He and his wife Sheila reside in Fort Myers, Florida, and have 2 daughters, Dr. Tammy Kidney and Mrs. Kelly Proctor, and 5 grandchildren, Christian, Carrie, Brooks, McKinley, and Emery. Superintendent Lawley, it is my honor to present Colonel Roger W. Thornberry for induction into the Fairborn City Schools Hall of Honor.
I guess I'm on the clock, so I've got 6 minutes. So I'm not going to attempt to rehash what's in the brochure or what they just said about my working life or my military service. Instead, I want to talk about my association and history with the city of Fairborn and Fairborn High School. My history with Fairborn begins on December 2nd, 1955, when as a 12-year-old boy, I helped my parents load what little furniture we had on an open bed coal truck, throw a tarpaulin over it, and head out on a 150-mile life-changing journey from our home in Elliott County, Kentucky to Fairborn. In the 1950s, the most impoverished region of the United States was Eastern Kentucky. My parents finally came to the realization that try as they may, it was impossible to scratch out anything more than just a subsistence level existence from a small hillside tobacco farm and what few construction jobs my parents could find. When they arrived here in 1955, they had very little money. They had very little education. My father had to drop out of school in the 6th grade. My mother dropped out of school in the 8th grade to help support very large families during the middle of the Depression. But somewhere along the way, excuse me, my father had acquired some plumbing skills. So when he came up here, he opened a plumbing business. We had virtually no working capital and certainly didn't have any customer base. First year or two was extremely tough. Matter of fact, a few times during that first year, we ran completely out of money and groceries were running pretty thin. But thankfully, there was a lady by the name of Sarah Childers who owned a grocery store over here in Fairborn area, who extended us a line of credit to borrow groceries during those instances when money and groceries were tight. As far as I'm concerned, Sarah Childers is an absolute saint. She helped a lot of the people from Appalachia through some very, very tough times. After we were here, excuse me, a year or so, we started working for some Air Force personnel. Now, what we didn't realize was that there was a very effective, excuse me, let me grab a drink. This pollen here in the Miami Valley is really going to drive. What we didn't realize was the Air Force had a very effective informal communications net. So soon the word got around, as we did some work for them, that these guys do good work. They also do it at a very reasonable price. Soon the business began to grow. Suffice it to say that by the time I was a senior in high school, the business was flourishing. My parents were making enough money to send 3 of us to college. And also, my father was making enough money to move us from our 900 square foot house on the wrong side of the tracks over to June Drive. Now, let me turn also to the school system. First of all, I can tell by this audience, there's an awful lot of you weren't around in the 1950s. Let me tell you what Fairborn was not first. Fairborn was not some sleepy little Midwestern farming community. As a matter of fact, Fairborn at that time more closely resembled Silicon Valley of California of today. Now, why do I say that? Because in this area, you had some of the most highly educated, smartest people in the United States. Why were they here? Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Wright-Pat was home to Wright Air Development Center, the Air Force Institute, Air Force Logistics Command. We haven't even had a SAC base, Strategic Air Command wing over here, consisting of B-47, B-52 bombers, loaded with nuclear weapons, ready to deliver to the Soviet Union upon appropriate occasion. At any rate, to accomplish such a sophisticated and complex mission, you had to have extremely educated and extremely bright people performing those missions. Many of them lived right here in the Fairborn community. Many of them sent their children to school here. These people, overachievers, highly educated, placed a great deal of pressure on the Fairborn school system to deliver a quality education. Fairborn also was a recipient of an awful lot of federal money from what is called the Federal Aid to Impacted Schools. So you had a situation where you had parents really involved, pushing for a quality education, and they had the resources to deliver, which they did. We took advantage of that opportunity. Matter of fact, Fairborn at that time, as far as I'm concerned, offered the best of both worlds to my parents. First of all, it offered them the economic opportunity to break the poverty cycle. It offered us the educational opportunity to make that breaking the poverty cycle permanent. So for those two reasons and the opportunities that they provided my family, I will always have a warm spot in my heart for Fairborn and for its school system. And I would tell you, if my parents were here today and alive, I would say to them, well done. Because not only did all of your children go to college, but all of your grandchildren have college degrees and are living very fruitful lives. As a matter of fact, half of them have graduate degrees, and my oldest daughter has a doctorate in dentistry. So I just say to you that from a sixth grade education to a doctorate degree, that's a success story as far as I'm concerned, and it's one that I'm very proud to be a part of. I also tell you that most of this, if not all of it, would not have been possible without the opportunities, both economic and educational, afforded to us by this community and its school system. In closing, let me tell you this is a great honor, and this is a day I'll remember for the rest of my life. But let me hasten to add that perhaps the greatest honor ever bestowed upon me was the absolute privilege of serving for the first 27 years of my adult life with what I consider to be the bravest, most dedicated, in many instances, the best group of people I've ever known, and that's the dog-faced soldiers of the United States Army. Thank you.
Linda Riney Hazley is a 1971 graduate of Fairborn High School, where she played clarinet in the band. She earned a certified medical assistant license from the Career Academy, and she also studied EEG technology with the American Society of Electro-Neurodiagnostic Technology. She was employed at Green Memorial, Grandview, and Good Samaritan hospitals, and then took a position at Children's Hospital in Dayton, where she worked with pediatric patients, helping children who suffered from seizures and other neurological conditions. At Kettering Medical Center, she became the EEG supervisor and started the first comprehensive epilepsy program in the area. She served as a volunteer of the Ohio Society of END Technologists, publishing the newsletter and speaking at professional events. And in 1992, she wrote an article for the American Journal of EEG Technology and was given the Maureen Berkeley Award. She is a fourth-generation member of the Girl Scouts of America and has been a scout leader, camp director, and received the Buckeye Trails Award. She is a strong advocate of the military and a charter member of Abiding Christ Lutheran Church. She and her husband, Michael, a 2019 Hall of Honor inductee, have a daughter, Nikki Carter, and three grandchildren, Haley, Cameron, and Maddie. Superintendent Lawley, it is my honor to present Linda Riney Hazley for induction into the Fairborn City Schools Hall of Honor.
I want to thank the selection committee for including me in this year's honorees. It was both a shock to hear, and I'm very humbled to be here. I'm an EEG technologist. EEG stands for electroencephalogram. I didn't start out to be an END tech, but an RN. But I fell in love and decided to get married. But my dad insisted that I have my education and something to fall back on in case our marriage didn't work out. So I decided to trade in 4 years of education for 4 months and became a medical assistant. My first job was at Green Memorial in 1972. I was a phlebotomist. I took their blood, EKG, and I was introduced to EEG there. Wasn't a real great introduction. It was on-the-job training, and one tech showed the next tech, showed the next tech, which is fine, but it was a little bit like the telephone working with better trained techs at other hospitals, I began to fall in love with neurology and EEG. I also decided that I wanted to help other techs better their education and obtain their credentials. So I became involved in our local study group, state and national professional societies. I was a member, a board member, put together our state newsletters, became a speaker at meetings, and an examiner for other people taking their credentialing. Until recently, END, or electroneurodiagnostics, was the only other group of medical professionals, other than doctors, that had to take both a written and oral exams. That was fun. I've worn a few hats in my life. I'm a medical assistant, registered EEG technologist. I have my certification for neurophysiological intraoperative monitoring, but I'm also a wife, mom, grandma. Those all come first. And I was a Girl Scout and a Girl Scout leader. EEG, often referred to as the brainwave test, records the electrical activity of the brain. We look at the actual physical function of the brain. CAT scan, MRI, and PET scans all came along long after EEG. They take specialized pictures of the brain tissue. EEG itself hasn't changed much. The big change has been with the equipment. We've gone from really huge machines that wrote on paper to digital. Digital's much easier. One of the biggest things that separates us from other medical professions is, as a tech, we have to know what we're looking at. We have to be able to kind of decipher the EEG and what's going on, because our brain really does change as we get older and different age limits. One of the biggest things that we record is for seizures. And we only record for 20 or 30 minutes. That's a real short period in a lifetime. But what we do as the tech can change a person's lifetime. If we record seizures, you could be on medication for the rest of your life. Let's see. Oh, EEG is also used to help determine coma levels, especially now with medically induced coma. They rely on EEG monitoring to tell if they need to add more medication or if the patient's at the level of coma that they want. And for many years, EEG was the #1 test to determine brain death. One of my classes in high school was typing. Not one of my favorites, but at the time, I didn't appreciate how much I would use everything that I learned in that class. And those of us that took typing, when it came to keyboarding, we had a little head start there. Little did I know when I was sitting in speech class, which was a class that I took because I had an open period. Didn't know that years later I would actually be using what I learned in that class to be giving talks at medical meetings to medical personnel. I'd like to apologize to my family and friends for all the times I was on call and had to leave family functions, outings, and dinners. Thank you all for understanding and putting up with it. Thank you to Mike, my husband of 51 years, the marriage made it, for your love and support during my career. Thank you, Nikki, for letting me hook you up when you were young to test equipment and my techniques. Thank you for helping me combine EEG and Girl Scouts when you took charge of the younger girls when decorating the EEG lab at Children's. Thank you, Karen, for being my friend and my sounding board. We all need one of those friends. I also need to thank my parents for teaching me to be independent during a time when women were just starting to become independent. My parents were both involved in scouting. Mom was a Girl Scout leader. I was a Girl Scout, then a leader. Our daughter, Nikki, was a Girl Scout and then a leader. And our two granddaughters were both Girl Scouts. That's 4 generations in Girl Scouts. Being involved in Girl Scouts taught me to be patient, to look at life a little bit brighter, to have fun, and, sorry Maddie, a lot of Girl Scout songs. Again, thank you to all who have taught me so much over the years. Being inducted tonight is a wonderful way to top off a full career. Thank you.
Stephen B. Edwards is a 1982 graduate of Baker High School, where he was an all-league varsity tennis athlete and a member of the National Honor Society, Quill and Scroll, and choir. He earned a Bachelor of Fine Arts in Broadcasting from the University of Cincinnati and began his broadcasting career at WBLY-AM, WLWT-TV, and WDTN. He also served at Kings Island as Public Relations Manager and then became Public Relations Manager for LexisNexis, where he created a public website and intranet. He was employed at NCR as Director of Employee and Interactive Communications, and 4 years later returned to LexisNexis as Director of Corporate Communications. In 2006, he joined Win Supply as their Director of Corporate Communications and later served as the first Vice President of Marketing, retiring as Win Supply's Chief Marketing Officer. He helped the company win the 2015 United States Supply House of the Year Award and retired as its Chief Marketing Officer. He has been a speaker at the Business to Business Speaker Series and was committee chair for the American Supply Association and a member of the Dayton Area Chamber of Commerce Board of Trustees. He and his wife Libby have 3 sons and reside in Cincinnati, where he volunteers for many organizations. Superintendent Lawley, it is my honor to present Stephen B. Edwards for induction into the Fairborn City Schools Hall of Honor.
Haven't changed a bit. Thank you. Thank you. I'm very, very grateful and incredibly humbled by this. Not something I ever could have imagined. I'm also honored to share the stage tonight with these other incredible Fairborn grads, educators, and community leaders. I want to thank Fairborn City Schools, Superintendent Lawley, Board of Education, and specifically Pam Gayhart and Sarah Fulton, who had incredible patience working with me through this process. I was under the impression there would be a prize for highest maintenance inductee, but I guess not. I was mistaken, so I guess I won't get that one. I also want to thank members of my family who are here tonight to support me. 2 of our 3 sons are here, Noah and Nate. My sister Brittany, a Fairborn class of '88 grad. My aunt, also a Fairborn grad, Heather Edwards. And cousin Ian, star student athlete at Greenon High School right now. I especially want to thank my wife Libby, who's been unconditionally supportive of me. And if you think Sarah and Pam have been patient only for a couple of months, Libby's been patient with me for many decades. And I am certainly grateful that she is my wife, and I wouldn't be standing here if it wasn't for her. I mentioned that 2 of our 3 sons are here. Our 3rd son and his wife, our oldest son, live in South Carolina. And when he was a young boy, he said something that I remember like yesterday and has really stuck with me. He was in the back seat of the car and we were heading to practice or a game or something, and it got quiet, which was weird. And he said to me, "I hear when you get older, time goes faster." And I thought, no truer words have probably been spoken. But the converse is also true. When you're younger, time seems to move much more slowly in retrospect. As a kid, summer seemed to last forever, the school year exponentially longer. However, it's this time as a young person when one's foundation is created. Personality evolves, strengths and weaknesses make themselves known, knowledge grows through formal and informal education, relationships, some lifelong and some only for the moment, are created, all elements that inform the rest of our lives. I was fortunate that my parents decided to move to Fairborn the summer before my 5th grade year. We moved to Rona Hills. I attended Black Lane Elementary, and friendships created that first year are some that I still cherish today. Interestingly, Pam's husband was one of the first friends I've met back 48 years ago, which is hard to think of. Riding bikes through Fairborn, Rona Hill Swim Club, getting Slurpees at the 7-Eleven in Rona Hills. If those of you who don't remember, there used to be a 7-Eleven there. And while social media often has a negative connotation, I find it such a perfect way to stay in touch and keep up to date with what's happening with my fellow Baker Class of '82 classmates, many of whom have reached out to me when the news of this honor was announced, and I appreciate that. This honor tonight is a reflection of some professional accomplishments I've had during my career, as well as some volunteer or community work I've done where I live. And while I'm proud of those things, they're mostly a reflection of the foundation that was built during my years in Fairborn. A foundation that included contributions from family, friends, and very, very importantly, the educators, teachers at Black Lane, Central Junior High, and Baker High School. And for the first time in many years, our legendary athletic director, who's sitting here in front of me tonight, which is great to see. While those names, some of those who had the biggest impact on me included Steve Clifton, Rick Murphy, Roberta Gunderson, administrators like Tom Stevenson, Bobby Roush, who were big supporters of not only me, but all students. And while those names may not be familiar to many of you, I will bring to your attention that not one of those are math teachers. Not a big math guy. Educators and administrators are really the true heroes of our community, and that's something that just can't be stated enough. I also want to recognize and thank Terry Miller. Terry graciously nominated me for this honor, despite my hesitance. In 7th grade at Central Junior High, our social studies teacher unfortunately had to leave for the remainder of the year due to health issues. So her replacement was this guy who just graduated from Bowling Green University and took a vacation to Hawaii after he graduated, and now he was our teacher. And his first day on the job in our class, he told us about his vacation, showed us pictures from Hawaii, and taught us the hang loose sign, which became our theme for the rest of the school year. So I like to remind Terry when I do talk to him that I was one of his first students, and his teachings of Hawaiian culture have stuck with me to this day. So he's not here tonight, but I do want to thank and recognize Terry Miller. I won't take up any more time here, but I do want to reiterate how honored I am to be recognized, how proud I am to be a graduate of Fairborn Schools. I don't find my career or life since graduating to be anything extraordinary or worthy of this honor, but I am incredibly appreciative and accept this on behalf of my fellow Class of '82 Flyers. Sorry, we were pre-Skyhawks, and all of whom I should say, have made their own incredible personal and professional contributions in their own way. And also on behalf of the educators and the administrators who had such a positive impact on me. Thank you very much.
Sean P. Kelly is a 1997 graduate of Fairborn High School, where he was a member of 4 bands, speech and debate, mock trial, a cappella choir, chamber chorale, and yearbook staff. He earned a bachelor's degree in music education from Wittenberg, a master of music from Wright State, a master of music from the University of Cincinnati Conservatory of Music, and a doctorate of musical arts and conducting from the University of Oklahoma. He is the Associate Professor of Music, Associate Director of Bands and Director of Athletic Bands at North Central College in Naperville, Illinois, where he organized the marching band program. In 2021, he founded and still serves as conductor of the Naperville Winds, a 95-member professional wind ensemble. This is Chicago's premier wind band, and in 2022, they released their first album, Beginnings. A published composer, his works have been performed by high schools, colleges, and universities across the United States. He is a much sought-after guest conductor and clinician, and he has presented at regional, state, and national conferences and symposia. When he is not involved in musical endeavor, he enjoys weightlifting and running. In every biography, he proudly lists his hometown of Fairborn and attributes his passion for music to all of his teachers in the Fairborn City Schools. Superintendent Lally, it is my honor to present Sean P. Kelly for induction into the Fairborn City Schools Hall of Honor.
Good evening. So first of all, thank you to the Fairborn City Schools Hall of Honor Committee and to the induction committee. What an honor of a lifetime, truly. Of course, to my amazing teachers at Fairborn and the myriad universities you just heard about. I'm deliberately overeducated. And of course to my parents. And I want to talk a little bit about them because I don't think I really have ever articulated to them truly what an impact their lives have had on the trajectory of their own family and to me in particular. My parents, like many in this room and even on the stage, were raised in a small Appalachian coal mining town, them in particular in Athens County. They were first-generation college graduates themselves, and in order to put himself through his undergrad experience, my dad joined the Navy right after school. After earning his degree and his postgraduate certifications in anesthesiology, both he and my mom returned to their small town out of both the fondness and their sense of duty to that struggling community. My father then joined the school board, my mom was on the village council, and it was at that point that I really learned at an early age the value of giving of yourself to a community in need. When the mines closed and the community the economics of the community began to collapse, my parents saw the writing on the wall and they made the tough but necessary decision to leave. My father then commissioned in the Air Force. We were stationed at Chanute Air Force Base in Illinois for a short time, but when it became clear that base was on the BRAC list, they then moved us to Fairborn, Ohio, where he was stationed at Wright-Patterson. It was really my first day being in the Fairborn City Schools that I began to realize that things are not random, that God has a place for you, and that was truly where we were supposed to be. Everything does happen for a reason. For the young, shy, probably hard to imagine, and introverted kid that I was, moving to a new school was terrifying, but luckily for me, Fairborn had and still does have an incredible music program, and though I was naturally gifted, I didn't realize how important that would be to me in my future. From the first day at Baker Junior High, the band room was my home, and I think that's true for many of you in the audience as well. My first experience with band at Fairborn was under Rick Polera. He was definitely a no-nonsense band director, but he instilled in us organization, accountability, and pride through the incredibly disciplined and detail-oriented vehicle of music performance. He was tough because he cared, and although he griped about not being able to get away with silly middle school things, we knew we were a part of something special, and that sense of ownership, pride, and belonging that he gave us a sense of purpose. He was the right teacher at the right time for those of us in that room. There are many things that can be considered microcosms of life, and music is definitely one of them. It involves time management, planning, organization, grit, self-reflection, dedication, and sacrifice. Those of us in the music program at Fairborn High School quite literally lived at this school. Those of us in the music program at Fairborn High School, we traveled, we rehearsed, we performed often nightly, whether in Mr. Bass's or Mr. Carver's bands or in Ms. Busaro's choirs. Not only did that provide us with memories for a lifetime, but it kept us away from the negative influences as we were too busy to dabble in angsty teenage behaviors. I didn't know where I would be or where my life would take me, but the 4 years at Fairborn High School definitely gave me direction, thanks to the inspiring teachers, my talented classmates, and the entire educational experience. When others describe their high school years as tedious or as prisons, I cannot identify. For me, Fairborn was a sanctuary. As we all know, adulthood is full of twists, turns, and surprises. So a few nuggets of wisdom from someone who's taken more than a few detours. First, there is no substitution for hard work. In essence, time plus effort equals success, even if that success is not obvious at first. If a door never opens, you might be at the wrong building. Sometimes our perceived path in life is not our destined path, so always be open to new opportunities that you might not have considered. The grass is truly not always greener. You are where you are for a reason, so invest in those around you, bloom where you're planted, and build something amazing that only you could have done. Your impact on the lives of others is much greater when you build something from scratch rather than when you inherit or maintain something already built. It's true that the only constant is change. Your work is never done, new problems will always arise, but from change always comes opportunity, and the opportunity to make things better than they were before. So always be positive and embrace the challenge. Although I now live and work a few states away, it's heartening to see both the city of Fairborn and its school district thriving in challenging times. The city of Fairborn, with the growing population and reputation, now has a passionate and forward-thinking school administration that has developed a strong town-gown relationship, which has yielded incredible results for the students and community. And I am so happy for the current and future students who will now be able to learn and grow in some of the finest facilities in the state of Ohio. So in closing, it is the honor of a lifetime to be enshrined in these halls of the school that means so much to me and maybe who I am. To the students in the audience, I encourage you to take full advantage of the opportunities around you, because aside from the cliches about soaring and flying high, being a Skyhawk comes with a charge to change the world. Our fellow graduates have made history on Wall Street, Silicon Valley, on the battlefield, in the studios of Hollywood, in the halls of academia, and even beyond the bounds of planet Earth. Above all, be passionate, diligent, and leave the planet a little better than you found it. The entire Fairborn community has your back, and we all can't wait to see what you'll accomplish. Thank you.
Wendy Williams Kirsch graduated in 1975 from Fairborn Baker High School, where she was a cheerleader and a member of the choir and yearbook. She received a Bachelor of Science in Education from Northern Arizona University and taught at a junior high school in Arizona before returning to Ohio, where she taught in the Urbana City Schools. In 1990, she became a grads, teachers, and coordinator for the Greene County Career Center. She met with pregnant and parenting students in Greene County and helped them face the challenges of parenthood at a young age. She was chosen the 2004 Fairborn High School Most Trustworthy Teacher because of her work. She led the Grads Advisory Committee for many years and was a member of numerous school, local, and state organizations and a board member of the Family and Youth Initiative Parenting Network. And she is the recipient of numerous honors, including the Skyhawk Athletic Club Skyhawk Citizenship Award. She and her husband, Tom, were Fairborn High School senior class co-advisors for 14 years, coordinating all senior and graduation activities. Wendy was also very active in Fairborn City and church activities and loved to garden and quilt. She is the mother of Matthew and Katie and has 14 grandchildren. Wendy died suddenly in June of 2017, and Fairborn City Schools continues to honor her legacy in the Fairborn schools and in the Fairborn community. Superintendent Lawley, it is my honor to present Mr. Tom Kirsch for Ms. Wendy Williams Kirsch for induction into the Fairborn City Schools Hall of Honor.
What? This is only the prologue. I know many of you would know me that those words are no truer. I could speak for her and about her for a long, long time. Give me a moment and I will. That said, I've been given 5 to 8 minutes, so I better get at it. Not quite sure what the total time will be, but I promise there'll be a 5 or an 8 in there somewhere. Hopefully, if there's any tension in the room, it's been erased, and now we can sit back and be reminded of the joy of Wendy and the testimony she lived and the legacy she left in each of us that walked any amount of time with her. I've also been told by many others who didn't have the pleasure of walking with her, and I'm paraphrasing for all of them, I wish I had known her. When I think of what I have heard of her, what I have heard makes me smile. Good evening, and thank you on behalf of Wendy, our family, and myself. To our fellow inductees here on the stage, congratulations. Having read through your bios and having now heard 4 amazing stories, I would think Wendy would be in awe of you. I know I am, and she would be thrilled that she will be entering the hall with each of you. To the Fairborn City Schools Hall of Honor Committee and to the Fairborn City Schools, thank you for this program and your inclusion of Wendy, one of your own, whose heart was all things Fairborn. So much so, we cut our 12-year vacation in Arizona short to return home to Fairborn so we could raise our children in the home environment that raised us and gave us so much. No one walks alone. When you live long enough, it becomes very, very clear. Wendy would be the first to say that any honor brought upon her, such as the one tonight, would be due in large part to the countless people in her life that we all share in this evening. Wendy knew that full well, and she relished her relationships, professional and personal alike. She would testify that her ability to give, to impact, was directly a result of a relationship with Christ, and those he gifted her in her life, and many, many are seated here tonight. Her father, Lloyd Williams, whom she loved very, very much. Her brother Brad and her sister Amy, who always gave their best to her and each to one another. Our children Matt and Katie, who, as the saying goes, were the apple of her eye. Their spouses Rachel and Adam respectfully, and 13 of our 14 grandchildren. A number of brother-in-laws and sister-in-law, nephews, nieces, cousins, her classmates from the Fairborn Baker Flyer class of 1975, her professional colleagues from Arizona, here at Fairborn, and especially the Greene County Career Center, including her fellow grads, teachers over the years, Charlene, Linda, Christy, Penny, and Nancy. And most importantly, her students from over the 38 years that she gave to the teaching profession, with a special recognition to her senior class officers, whom she adored, and her grad students, their children, and families, whom she saw no limit in walking their journey with them. Thank you to all of you. One of our grandchildren is not present tonight, our oldest, Mary. She is a 9th grader in high school and who is tonight participating in her school's play. It's exactly where Wendy would want her to be. And recognitions would not be complete without a very special someone who was so dear to her heart and who played an immense and formative role, not only in her life, but in her faith, who needs to be recognized tonight on such an occasion, and that is her mother, Suzanne Williams. She would be so very, very proud. Can't help but think the two of them probably have the best seat in the house tonight. Wendy's life work is being honored here tonight with this recognition. It illustrates that it's about her life's work and not her job title. It illustrates that Wendy's life work, her role in the lives of others, the impact she had for the betterment of others, and not for self. I speak of the person who was, and to many, still is. The biography presented in tonight's program provides details of her professional journey that brought us here. In speaking, I believe it's important I make clear of the person Wendy was behind that biography. It's in who she is explains why she was. Wendy was everything to many. She was something to all of us. She was an advocate, a safe place, a listener, a doer. For her students, she would move the landscape of Greene County to search and locate any and every resource that could provide them hope. Wendy was so real, so genuine. I've truly never known anyone quite like her. Her students saw the same qualities in her. They knew she was relatable and could be trusted with their very private journeys. She was exactly what her students needed at that point in their life. She brought successes for her students in school retention and graduation rate, as well as assistance in post-high school college and or trade admissions and scholarships. Wendy's work was effortless. She was just such a natural. It was who she was. There are people who come through this journey on earth that just change you. Wendy was one of those people to so many. She's testimony to how well a life can be lived. Her presence was felt by all the time. She made everybody she knew better. I will always believe that she was destined for her role in grads, a role God gave her that fit like a glove, a challenge for her students that Wendy took as a challenge for her too. While it was a challenge for her students, she was influential in guiding them in a direction of hope and embracing the joy that can be and is theirs as a student and as a parent. She gave these students stability, direction, and that very hope. Students transferred that energy from her into their everyday lives and into raising their own children. As one of her students, she made you feel as though it was you in that moment was all that mattered. She engaged students in the academics of life, of the survival of carrying on, of believing in and becoming all they could be, perhaps half the time without them even being aware. But over time, they changed. They grew, they became more confident, more aware that they can and will succeed at completing high school, will be able to pursue their life all the while raising a child and to provide the very best for them and themselves going forward. Though there is a state curriculum for grads, Wendy and her students became the curriculum. Engaging in practical, teacher and student-driven design lessons whereby each student, virtually on their own pathway relative to their stage of pregnancy or child rearing, was learning and growing into their expanding roles. And Wendy got it. She humbled herself to the very people over the years, her former students, who she served, as she knew they became the experts to consult in future years in lesson planning and helping her present-day students get through this time in their life. Wendy impacted the most vulnerable students, one of the most vulnerable groups of students in our schools. Wendy was determined that both these children having children and their children would not fall through the cracks in society. She was determined that her role was beyond just being a teacher, but to also walk beside them while she had them in school and continue beside them as long as they needed her in their life. Some until the day she went home. She struggled alongside many and she prayed for all. I believe Wendy would be very humbled by this honor, an honor bestowed by the very school system that educated and empowered her. From being the first female elected student government president at Central Junior High, to serving her final 14 years, not only as a grants teacher, but advisor for this high school's senior class, literally to the last day of school in 2017. She loved her seniors, and to a person they would attest, she gave them her all. And she kept me in line and on track. Wendy is testimony to a life well lived, well given for the betterment of others, and I believe her impact will be generational, as her life work most assuredly helped to bring hope and possibilities to the students she taught. So much so that I will always believe that when Wendy went home, she would greet it at heaven's gate and heard, "Well done, good and faithful servant, well done." To conclude, just as Wendy came into our lives, she also left us, yet left for us what she gave of her time, her gifts, and of herself. Tonight, that's why we are here, to honor Wendy. Treasure what she gave each of you. I know I do. Thank you.
Edward L. Gibbons graduated from Livingston High School in Livingston, Illinois, earned a Bachelor of Arts in Elementary Education at Cedarville College, and a Master of Education from Wright State University. He was a student teacher at Black Lane Elementary and then taught 5th grade classes at 5 Points Elementary for 19 years. He was also an adult education and summer school teacher, junior high wrestling coach, and junior high assistant football and track coach. In 1992, Ed became the Baker Middle School assistant principal, and 4 years later, he became the principal at Baker. He initiated the Parent Teachers Student Association and the Renaissance Program. He became the Director of Business Affairs, Personnel and Technology in 2002, a position he held until he retired. He was a member of numerous committees and boards, including the Hall of Honor Selection and Induction Committees, and he's a really tough act to follow, and the Board of Directors for Fairborn Digital Academy. An adjunct instructor at Wright State University on the clinical faculty, he was also a presenter at national conferences. He was a trustee and deacon at Grand Heights Baptist Church and volunteered for many community events. He and his wife Sandy have 2 children, son Aaron and wife Amy, and have 2 daughters, Ava, Amelia, and daughter Megan, and husband Keith Hoying, who have a son Colton. Superintendent Lawley, it is my honor to present Edward L. Gibbons for induction into the Fairborn City Schools Hall of Honor.
It's great to see so many familiar faces here. Good evening. I was kidding with Tom and Sean before the program started tonight, and I said I was going to say something about the 3 of us. So you can imagine looking at the 3 of us what it might be. Last night, Tom and I were saying they probably had to dim the lights on the stage here on our side of the stage for the reflection. So I want to apologize for that. Pam, I do feel kind of out of place over here at this podium, so just so you know. And Nancy, I don't know where you got that picture, but wherever you are, that brings back a lot of memories. First of all, I'm humbled by the thought of being worthy of induction in the Fairborn City Schools Hall of Honor. Congratulations to my fellow inductees. Your accomplishments are extremely impressive. Thank you, Pam, for the introduction, and a big thanks to the FCS Hall of Honor Selection and Induction Committees for your many hours of work. Thanks to the Board of Education members, central office personnel, Fairborn High School students and personnel, district maintenance staff, music department, food service department, tech department, attendees, and anyone I might be leaving out. So it takes a lot of people to put this together. Also, I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge my faith in God and thank Him for His direction in my life tonight. I would like to introduce some family members who are attending tonight. My beautiful wife, Sandy, who loved working in the library and with special needs students at FCS and has been so supportive and encouraging in almost 46 years of marriage. My son, Aaron, and daughter Megan, both Fairborn City Schools graduates who have excellent careers because of this district and make their parents extremely proud. Thanks for putting up with me, especially when I was your principal in junior high. Aaron's family, wife Amy, and daughters Ava and Amelia, and Megan's family, husband Keith, son Colton, and we just learned there's another one on the way. And my sister Tammy is also here tonight. I would also like to express my appreciation for my parents who are no longer with us. They weren't wealthy, but they sacrificed so that I could go to college. I didn't know much about Fairborn until I started my student teaching in 4th grade at Black Lane Elementary. The Black Lane staff and Cedarville University provided an awesome experience, and I knew teaching was my calling at that time. After student teaching and applying to multiple school districts in Ohio and Illinois, I received an offer to teach 5th grade at 5 Points Elementary and immediately took it. There, my love for teaching grew each year. The staff was such a close-knit group, and I have fond memories of that time. Sandy is still shocked when I see former students and still remember their name. At Baker Junior High with 900 7th and 8th graders, every day was a challenge, but it was so much fun. It was very rewarding to see our students grow into young adults, and we had such a talented staff. During my time at BJH, I had an offer of an elementary principal's position in my hometown in Illinois, but I turned it down. I just couldn't leave Fairborn City Schools in this community. At central office, my goal every day was to save district funds where possible so that more dollars could go into the classrooms. I admit I was a penny pincher. One staff member repeatedly told me I could make a nickel scream and probably have my first dollar bill framed somewhere. But I wanted to do everything I could to help the district through some tough financial times. The staff at central office was great to work with, and I felt like we always were focused on the best education possible for our students. One of my dreams for the district was to have new facilities for our students, staff, and the community. So it was exciting to be part of the beginning of that process before my retirement. Although new buildings are great though, I learned a long time ago that the treasures of our schools are the students and staff, and I truly miss the students and my coworkers who have all influenced my life in some way. I had the privilege to share my life story with some high school students this morning, and my advice to them was to take the hand you've been dealt and make the most of it. You can achieve your dreams and goals and hopes with a good work ethic, a social network of positive people, an attitude of never giving up, and a strong desire to make a difference in someone else's life. At the beginning of each day of my career, all I ever wanted was to fulfill Fairborn City Schools' mission for our students to be successful. My hope is that I succeeded more than I failed, and that I've had a positive impact along the way that will continue to make us Skyhawk proud. Thank you.
Our final inductee for this evening is Glenn V. Oakley, and he could not be with us tonight because he's in a river in Mexico, and I'll read his biography and you'll know why. Glenn V. Oakley graduated in 1973 from Fairborn Baker High School, where he was a member of the student council. He received a Bachelor of Arts in Journalism from the University of Montana and attended Ohio University Master of Arts in Photojournalism program. He has gained international fame for his photography, specializing in outdoor and environmental subjects, and is a 3-time winner of the Banff Mountain Photography Competition. He has twice rowed through northern Alaska, sea-kayaked fjords of Prince William Sound, sat in a tree blind in the jungles of Guatemala, and photographed condors in the Grand Canyon. His credits include Life, Time, Smithsonian, Business Week, the New York Times, and the Audubon, and he has also provided photographs for numerous companies. He wrote Wolf, A Modern Look, was writer and photographer for Snake, The Plane and Its People, and produced the photography of The Gift of the Elk, a suite for Native American flute and orchestra. He has also produced the short film, The Falconer, and was a photographer for the NBC News special In Plain Sight, Poverty in America, which won the 2013 Peabody Award. He is a musician and often plays with his band, Slackline. He and his partner, Catherine Jones, travel extensively, and since he is out of the country and cannot be with us tonight, we honor him. At this time, Superintendent Lawley, it's my honor and privilege to present Glenn Oakley for induction into the Fairborn City Schools Hall of Honor.
Hi, I'm Glenn Oakley, and I'm recording this from my place in Boise, Idaho. The last couple of weeks in April, I'm going to be sea kayaking in the Sea of Cortez in Mexico, so apologies for coming to you from video, but I do have some images of mine showing in the background so you can get a sense of what I do or have done. And then I guess it's a little bit appropriate that I am coming to you from video because that's been a big part of my work in the last 10 years anyway. This honor falls on the 50th anniversary of my high school graduation. And so it's given me an opportunity to think a little bit about that. And also to note that I'm as far removed from my 17-year-old graduating senior as that 17-year-old graduating senior was from the end of World War I. Perhaps everything my life and career evolved into was basically seeded already in high school. I got my first 35 millimeter camera in high school and actually used it on a science class project. The details I don't remember. It did involve photographing groundhogs. So it sort of set a pattern basically of me using the camera to really explore the world and hopefully use it in lieu of work. Or I mean, it's still work, of course, but it's been a fascinating way to make a living and to see places. I left Fairborn actually about 1 week after I graduated from high school, and I went to a bush town in Alaska. Took my camera with me along with a rifle and a bunch of fishing rods, and from there went on to college in Missoula, Montana. And I started freelancing there. I sold a piece in college to a magazine called Mountain Gazette, a precursor to Outside Magazine and all the outdoor magazines that came upon later. But I sold that to them, big feature article. The same magazine with an article of Ed Abbey. I was kind of blown away that I could do that. And then a High Country News, which was a environmental publication magazine at that time based out of Lander, Wyoming, saw it and picked me up, and so I started working for them, and then it just kind of grew from there. And I had just enough success to keep me going over time, and it's sort of like fishing, when you don't have a hit for a long time, and then you're about ready to give up, and you get a big fish that makes it try at your fly, and it keeps you going for another couple hours. That's sort of how it worked. So the camera has been a passport to really some of the best experiences in my life, and so I've been really, really fortunate and truly grateful to have this experience. People often ask what my favorite shoots were, and it's hard to pick one. I've done a lot of work just on my own, but when you're on assignment, you have the benefit of having that authority behind you, access into places, plus a budget. So my work with Smithsonian was probably the funnest projects I ever had and the most meaningful to me. I shot the reintroduction of condors into Arizona. They'd been completely removed from the wild, and then they were finally released some years ago. And if you go down to the Grand Canyon now, you cross the bridge at Lee's Ferry, you will see a bunch of those condors that are progeny from that trip. So, and I shot a story on removing dams to restore rivers, and I went to all 4 corners of the United States. And since then, 2 of those dams have been taken out, and fish have returned. And so I'm now to the point where my work is sort of becoming historical. So thanks for honoring me for kind of a half century of having fun with a camera. And thanks very much. Take care.
Ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate your attendance at tonight's celebration of pride, appreciation, and inspiration. These outstanding sons and daughters of Fairborn have accomplished outstanding achievements in their chosen fields, have brought great pride to Fairborn schools and the Fairborn community, and have made great contributions to people, community, and causes. We are richer because their lives have touched us. May I present to you, for combined recognition, thank you and a tribute of appreciation, the Fairborn City Schools Hall of Honor, Class of 2023.